because when you're drilling holes in people's roofs, that is not taken lightly at all.
How do you set those benchmarks when you develop those KPIs?
You have to treat your internal team like customers as well.
So what's fun about working for you?
Fun? If you came to my office, you'd be getting shot with Nerf guns.
You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Aline, the co-author of the books Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors and The Best Known Roofer. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the leading digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I sit down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. As always, comment, hit the like button, the follow button. There's all those little buttons there. Press a bunch of them. Maybe not the dislike one, huh, Hunter? Let's not do that. Don't press the dislike one. Not on Hunter's episode. Today we got Hunter Adams from Detach. How do I say it? Detach Reset Solar. Detach Reset Solar. I love that you just went direct with the branding. But Hunter, how did you get into the roofing industry?
Well, I'll share with you my story. So I was already a college dropout and I didn't know what to do. I was in like solar panel technology school. I was like trying to become this blue collar hero, get rich installing solar panels. Well, while I was doing that, I met a guy at a gas station and he said, well, have you ever sold roofs before? And I'm like, well, no, I haven't. I haven't at all. And he's like, well, hey, man, can you meet me here this day? Like, I'll teach you how to sell roofs. And I said, well, I don't really have much going for me in life right now, so why not? I'll go for it. And so that's when I first learned the art of like door knocking. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed going door to door and selling roofs and following the storms and helping these homeowners get new roofs and help to file their insurance claims. And what I was noticing is we were in these neighborhoods and all these roofs were getting done. And then the months were going by and the roofs with solar were not getting done. Nobody wanted to touch the roofs with solar. There was Tesla panels installed. There were just solar. And the roofers said, man, hey, I'm not going to mess with it. And like, I saw it as a sign from God. I'm like, hey, man, like I'm in solar panel school. Like I'm in this roofing industry. Like, hey, something clicked. I said, hey, I want to be, at the time I said, I want to be the biggest company in Colorado that, detaches and resets these solar panels for roofing companies and does the repair and does kind of the black side of what goes on in the solar industry. And that's kind of where the light bulb went off. And that's where it all started, man. It was awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's crazy how like it just takes this sliver of an idea. What I love about what you have going on is it's so niche focused. Like it's a niche within a niche. You're not doing roofing or solar, right? Like I mean, to a point, right? Like you're just involved in the whole process. What have been some of the challenges in getting the company to market? Like how do was it, making sure that, because you're more of on the B2B side, I guess, right? Because you're selling, your customers are roofing contractors or solar contractors. How does that work?
Correct. I mean, primarily it's roofing contractors. Yeah. We do have a pretty big base of homeowners that reach out, real estate agents, but yeah, 97% of our business is B2B. And I mean, I'll tell you, like the biggest challenges, and I think a lot of people will see, is the biggest challenge comes from it's internal. And even Tony Robbins talks about it. He's like, hey man, business is 80% mindset, 20% just showing up. And I'll tell you, like as a young entrepreneur, I had no idea what I was doing. I did not have a mother and father that grew up in business. I was one of the children that was raised to go to college, get a degree, save 10% and retire at 60. And that was not what I was looking for. And, I'd say it started with just a passion. And the biggest growth stunts I think that I had was like figuring out the processes, figuring out the systems. Like actually, I was running this business for 2 years off of spreadsheets doing, 15 jobs a day. And I was like, man, something's got to change. Like, this is killing me on the inside. This is not working. And really, I didn't have the education to understand, hey, I got to put some systems and processes in place to, help with the operations. I knew I was really good at sales and sales driven, but,
Yeah.
the systems and processes were huge. I had no idea what I was doing. I
That's
also had some of that shiny object syndrome where I think me and you were talking. I was getting into some real estate. I was side hustling here, side hustling there, doing some construction projects. And, that took away a lot of focus. I didn't really I thought of it as like a quick buck, like get 7 streams of income going is how you become a millionaire. And I was at the point where I wanted to sell. I had, an offer for, like 750 grand when I was 27, which was like a lot of money. And I almost took it. And the company actually ended up backing out last minute. And, that's when I got a call from one of my old business partners. His name's Hung. He's this Asian guy, super, super smart. And he said, hey, man, I kind of told him my situation. I said, hey, I'm really struggling here. I'm ripping my hair out. Like my marriage is not going well. This business is coming home with me every day, every second of my life. It's just kind of ruining everything. Like I kind of want to get rid of it. He said, hey, man, let's do this. Let me come in. He's like, I'm going to teach you about systems. I'm going to teach you about processes. He's like, I'm going to take all of the production and get it off of you. And I'm just going to say, hey, man, like you do what you do that's best. And that's building sales, delivering a good customer experience, the contractors and homeowners. And that's kind of where we hit it hard, man. We hit it really hard from that point on. And my focus went 100% into that. And, I just came off a huge loss. I just lost a significant amount of cash doing some bad real estate deals, and I had nothing to lose, man. I had to go all in. So I would say, those were some of the hardships in the very beginning.
Yeah, there's a book that Damon John wrote, from the guy that started FUBU, the hip hop clothing company. It's called The Power of Broke. And there's something to that. Like when there's definitely something to when you have to. Like there's right. But a lot of times I think in your story is the story of a lot of entrepreneurs. A lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, and, even in the roofing business, everyone, they go wide at first because you see money everywhere, right? Like I like to say there's a billion ways to make $1 million, right? Like there's so many ways, right? Like there's so much out there, and you go, oh, I could add this, or I could do that. Or, when you're for roofing business owners, a lot of times they start off, oh yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do your kitchen too, or I'll do your deck, or I'll do your, and it starts that way because you see money. And so there's not a connection there between I guess a good word from economics is opportunity cost. Right, the opportunity cost of you focusing on that other thing for even a minute, cost you a lot in your main business. How did you? I know you kind of determined. You kind of told me a little bit about it, but why this opportunity versus the other ones? What made you go, yep, this is the right one? Was it the business partner that came in and saw that focus, or what was it exactly?
Well, it's kind of like what you just mentioned about Damon John is my back was up against the wall. Yeah. I was invincible. I had a huge ego problem. I couldn't lose. I thought. And when that market went sour with real estate, boom, I lost, I had 7 houses we were doing. I thought I was going to go bankrupt, and I lost all my cash, I had, I was at the point where I was freaking out, and I had to say, hey man, what are we good at? What's working?
Yeah.
This, detaching and resetting solar was what we were good, was what I was good at the time. And I said, hey man, I got to go all in and go all in on this business. And what I did realize is the opportunity cost me millions of dollars by not just focusing on one thing and becoming the best at that one thing. If that makes sense.
And then what has happened since you focused?
Well, I'll tell you, the first year we 10X'd, then 2X'd, then 3X'd.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right now we're the largest solar maintenance company in the country, and we're growing like crazy. And that's what happened, man. We put and now I live a simple life. Like, there's no, like, I'm not going in crypto. I'm not doing investing in Mexico, man. Like, I have two things that I do. I make money in doing detach and reset, helping customers, and I buy rental properties
Yeah.
and to get the accelerated depreciation. And that's it, man. It's super simple. I enjoy more time with my family. I enjoy more time doing the personal things like I like golf, and it's just become much simpler.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There's something to it, man, that focus. And I know other companies and other people that I've interviewed on the podcast that did multiple service offerings, and then they scaled it back to one. And it's a scary thing to do, to be like, man, I'm taking all of this money off the table and I'm just going to go after this one thing. But every story, and I'm sure there are stories of people who didn't make it, but every story every person that I've talked to that has done that has done kind of been on your path, that 2x, 3x, like it's been a multiplying effect on their business, because
Yeah.
what you focus on improves. And so by putting all of your intention and all of your day and everything into that, it's crazy. So with the enormous, like the hockey stick of growth for you guys, what have been the biggest challenges in growing that fast?
So I'll tell you, I mean, it mainly boils down to, like, I think delegating was a big thing that I had to learn while we were growing so fast, because we were becoming overwhelmed with we were getting 40 jobs a day and 50 jobs, sometimes 50 jobs a day. And what I realized is, like, I cannot do it all myself. Like, I cannot run my entire sales team by myself. My business partner cannot run operations by himself. So we just started getting really good at delegating tasks, which is hard because you have to let go of control. No CEO, no high C-level suite person wants to give up control. But what you have to realize at the end of the day is, if you can find somebody that's 70% as good as what you're doing at your job, that is a win. Even I've heard even as low as 50% that it is a win. So, if you've ever read the book Delivering Happiness, which is like Zappos, they had a billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
Their secret was keeping a talent pipeline. So what we learned is we constantly have to recruit. We can't just have somebody once they quit, or they, I don't know, get fired or something like that. We have to have somebody that can fill in their slot. We just can't have that gap missing. And that's one big hurdle that we realize is, man, we got to keep a talent pipeline. And we got to keep when I started this company, the culture wasn't a thing. Like, I thought you sat at a desk and you just worked for 8 to 10 hours and you went home. I didn't know any better, and it wasn't, and we realized we had to have the type of culture. We had to invest into culture to keep the retention, to keep employees happy, to make them actually like to come to work and enjoy work. And that's when we started having people lining up at the door. I mean, we have a list, Jim. I mean, it's probably a page long of people that want to work for our company because of the culture we've created.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
I think that, going back to what you said about recruiting, this is something that, how do I put it? Like, I read a book called Who by Jeff. It's Jeff Smart, Jeff with a G, if anyone's listening and wants to look it up. And it's like a kind of a full HR, like, recruiting and hiring system, all the interview questions, the like what interviews to do, like and that was a big aha moment for me. The way that he framed it is, it's recruiting versus hiring. And I think a lot of times in business, we hire, and we need to hire someone. And when we go and hire someone, the people that we end up hiring are the people that need a job. And the people that need a job are the people that you might not want, that may not be the best team members, right?
Yep.
There's there's a concept of always having every job in your company posted, or nearly every job in your company posted, like always recruiting, and then identifying people at other companies that may be a good fit for you, identifying people at companies who have great training resources, that they've been trained well. I'm sure that someone that worked at Zappos in customer service, right? Like I bet that person would kill it at customer service, right? They've been well trained by a really high performing company, right? Like, and so the kind of the concept behind this book is you figure all these things out, and you're always interviewing. You're just always interviewing. You may not have a job available right now, but you're always interviewing and filling that pipeline of candidates for your jobs when they open up. And like you said, sometimes you need to, if somebody leaves for any reason, they move, they quit, it's not the right fit for them, whatever it is, you have to have someone, you have to have that next person. Let's walk through your recruiting process a little bit. Are you just posting jobs on LinkedIn and then just how are you guys, what's your recruiting process?
Sure. I'll share with you a little bit about it. And I have to have a big thank you to Sam Taggart. We're in Sam Taggart's mastermind. I'm sure you've heard of Sam. He's an amazing player in the door-to-door space as well as business-to-business space. And we set our recruiting foundation based on what Sam teaches. And a lot of it is, it's constantly, we're running ads, we're doing Facebook, but I'll tell you, our number one recruiting is, so A players know at least A to B players, right? So most of our company, I would say 70 to 80% of our company has been somebody that knows somebody, and usually they're related, they're close to their talent and drive, and morals and ethics is what we have realized, and that's probably one of the huge secrets. Another thing is, I don't look at resumes. Like, people send them in, and I don't think I've ever looked at a resume. Like, we're looking for people that have the same core values, morals, and they're looking to be a part of something that's wanting to grow. We've had employees where you can tell they're just there for a paycheck. They're kind of, probably 100% player playing at 60%. And those are not the type of players that we want to have at our company. We want the 60% players that are playing 100%, if that makes sense. How do you know who that person is? Like, what questions are you asking? How are you making that determination of, is this the right person from a cultural fit? Because, if you say, hey, these are our core values, do you, in interviewing, people always say yes a lot, right? They're like, oh yeah, of course. Yeah, Hunter. I agree with you 100%. Yeah, I'm that. What do you do to filter? How do you filter? That's a very good question. I think I always ask people, I'm like, hey man, like what's your end goal? Whether it's in life or what's your goal in 3 years? And, how do you plan to get there? And usually if it's a person that can actually give you a specific answer and think, and that has actually thought about it, that's a person that's likely to take action and just do an amazing job and wants to grow. Like, if somebody just sits there and like, I don't really know, that's probably a really indecisive person, and we're probably going to pass on the interview. I don't care if they went to Stanford, Harvard, Yale, I'm going to pass all day, because if you can't get specific and understand what you want, that's just not somebody that we're going to go after, And a lot of times, I'll tell you, is we don't hire people from this industry, really. We actually go with green people that actually have never worked in this industry and train them accordingly. That's another secret of ours. Like, we just hired a sales guy. He was working at a restaurant. He's never had a sales job. He was thinking of going to college. And I said, hey man, you seem like you have a really good fit. Like, you want to be a part of something, you want to build something. I said, hey man, just come in for an interview. he said, "Man, I'll do whatever it takes I'll do whatever it takes, man." And he's just a great team player. Super young,
Yeah.
never worked in sales. Amazing. He's had an amazing. He's only been here 3 weeks.
So now, when you're talking about hiring people that are more green, especially from a sales perspective, what?
Yeah.
How are you? You said training, right? So let's walk through that training process. So that's a good filter. I love, just to go back a second. I love the filter of, do they have a vision for their life? Right. I love that filter. So I think that's a good one to point out for people. But then now you found a person, they have a vision for their life. They want to achieve something. They want to be part of something. How do you get them from A to Z? How do you make them proficient or in their position?
Sure. I can tell you that, I mean, if you're specifically talking about sales, I mean, it's setting the goals. So it's setting a goal. Hey, Jim, what would you like to make this year? What are a couple things you want to do this year personally? Because we believe in, personal development as well as, in the work life, in the workspace as well. But what would you like to achieve? And here are the action steps. Like, this is what it looks like, of the action steps to get there. And we both come to an agreement on what it looks like and say, hey, is this something you're willing, is this something you're willing to do? Can I keep you accountable for this? And a lot of times they end up overachieving what they thought they could achieve.
So starting with goal setting, that's the thing. What's what's your process? When do your sales reps, your sales reps they're going and speaking to roofing contractors about the opportunity to use you as a service? That's their role, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Events,
Events,
real estate agents,
got it.
roofing companies.
Yep.
We're essentially, it's marketing. Yeah.
Yep. So in that, how are we training them? You said, I'm sure if you're working with Sam, there's a lot, like Sam's sales training is pretty extensive,
Yeah.
right? But but his is door to door, more door to door, direct to consumer. On the business to business side, and this would apply also, I think, to people who are on the commercial roofing space, more B2B, in all the B2B opportunities, what's how are you training? What are some of the steps? What does that sales process look like for you?
Sure. Well, there's several ways that you can go about it, but B2B sales, I mean, one thing that we teach, I mean, we do a ton of role playing every single week. We're doing role playing. We're seeing what it looks like. We're seeing what the objections are. And then we're doing repetition. Like, it's all about the follow up. So we have a set schedule that we follow every week. And there's key performance indicators that we track so we know what's working best and what's not, because some guys come in and they're hired and we're like, hey, your in-person close ratio is not as good as on the phones. Like, and they're a lot better on on like telemarketing essentially, and just tracking their KPIs of what they're doing best.
I think that's a good point right there. That's a good point to dig in a little bit on, is KPIs. Like, I don't think that a lot of companies do that. They may look at like just a close rate as a KPI. I think more successful companies will look at, maybe how many knocks per day if you're doing door to door, or, more around there's more to it, more to the KPIs. What are some of the KPIs that you're looking at? And then are you just taking an average from the past, like saying, hey, this is where we're benchmarking it? How do you know where to benchmark your metric, I guess is the question. Like, if you have what should your appointment set rate be from phone to in person, or is what I'm hearing from you, right? Like, how do you set those benchmarks when you develop those KPIs?
And that's a really good question. And we're such a new industry. This is such a new trade that we're still developing these as we go. So it's constantly evolving. But I can tell you, like, an overall trade, like, our KPIs would be phone calls made, info email sent. And then it would be drop-ins. Like, did you stop in a real estate agent office, a roofing company? And then it would be like a lunch and learn or event or appointment or something like that. So those are mainly the KPIs we track. and then we do the follow ups.
Nice. And then now that's on the sales side. What are you doing on the fulfillment of your services, right? Like, is your industry are you running subs similar to most roofing contractors? How does that who's doing, like, in the production process? What does that look
Yeah,
like? Yeah.
that's a great question, and the answer is I use as little subs as possible. I'd say
Okay.
we're 98% in house because I strive this trade when you're messing with a
Yeah.
solar system that's $30,000 to $40,000. I can have my W-2 employees fill out an entire checklist of what we expect on every job. A subcontractor, they can say kind of like F off, like, hey, I've got another job, like I'm not sending you these. The lack of quality control for subcontractors, in my opinion, is not beneficial to us at all. Unless it's some rare case. We do have a few where it's like, hey, we cannot get to this,
Yeah.
it's an emergency case. Can you please go and do this and try to do your best and get us the quality photos and inspection we need.
So that's another complexity, and especially that makes me think of another complexity to your business as you've grown. Like, so now you're not just hiring salespeople in those. Because what are you guys up to? How many locations are you in? How many cities are you in now?
We are at eight states right
Eight
now, and
states.
looking
Yeah.
to add an additional 4 states on the map. I mean, we have some pretty close to mid 8 figure to almost 9 figure contracts with some of the largest solar companies in the country right now.
So so that's another. I think that to me, a lot of contractors feel like the I guess the installer work, or the the workers are harder to hire than salespeople, right? Like the people that do the labor are harder to hire than salespeople. As you guys have grown, like, what are some of the challenges there, and what's your hiring and training process there?
Sure, that's a great point. Yeah. So I mean, when we hire, we only typically either hire guys that are extremely eager to learn and have a construction background, or that have been installing for quite some time. But we attract some of the best talent.
Hmm.
We pay our installers very, very well compared to most companies. Like, all our installers can pretty much, if they, bust ass, they can pretty much make 100 grand. And that's not the case in a lot of companies. But the way we structure it is we have we have three trainers that have been with me since the beginning of the company that know pretty much every single thing that you could think of when taking apart a solar system
Uh,
and putting it back together. So once they go through a training period, they, like, our trainers say, hey, like, this guy's he's ready to go. He's ready to be on his own crew. So once we get the okay from them, like, we're good to go. But there has to be from one of those three people in order for us to say, yep, he's ready. We trust him to go out there, because when you're drilling holes in people's roof, that is not taken lightly at all.
yeah.
And you have to be extremely prepared. I've seen a lot of companies go say, yeah, we can do this. Well, great. What's your process? What's your QA? What's your quality assurance, quality control check look like? That's what I'm asking first.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. So you have in-house trainers. They
Yep.
they run a new installer through a training process. They're teaching them all the different things, and then they graduate in some way to say, okay, you can be on your own, or you can be on a crew now, is what I'm
Yep.
hearing.
And then they go from hourly. They go from hourly to performance.
Yep,
Performance pay rate.
that's what I was going to next.
How,
Okay.
yep.
So in training, you're hourly, maybe almost like are they out there with the trainer doing work, kind of an apprenticeship type of role, I guess.
Correct.
Is what I would just to explain it a little bit, and then
Correct.
from there they move on to their own. Now it's pay per performance, and they have the ability to make, like you said, like close to 6 figures or above 6 figures, which is,
Yeah.
that's a heck of an opportunity for people.
Yes.
So I had Tommy Mello on the podcast before. If you're familiar with Tommy Mello of A1 Garage, he is all about pay for performance, right? Like I think his call center people are paper for performance. Probably his bookkeeper might be paper for performance. Like he is all about that type of model. How can someone structure that? What's your thoughts on a pay per performance model that really keeps people motivated?
Sure. I mean, the first off I can say is like getting them to actually complete. Like, even if you've like been installing for 7 years, we say, no, you still have to go through our training program. Like, if you've been roofing, if you know how to install a roof, you've been doing it 7 years. Well, I say, well, you still need to go through our training program. I'm not giving you like, for like, 100 grand a year. It doesn't matter. Like, you have to, like, we're basically starting you from square one saying, hey, let's see what you got. Let's see you prove yourself. Because we've seen guys where we're like, oh yeah, we'll give you this, and then it never works out. The guys that are hungry, they say, yeah, man, I'll show you what I got. I'll do this. I'll send you the proper photos. I'll make sure, the customer is taken care of. I'll make sure the roofs are protected, the gutters are protected, and go out of my way to go above and beyond. And that's when we move on. And that's I mean, definitely money is motivating to people for sure, but it's being a part of a culture where quality is important, where growth is important, personal development is important. All those things are extremely important. It's not just, hey man, you're here and you're going to get a good paycheck and that's it. Like, there's way more to it than that.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about that a little bit. Culture, right? Culture and retaining your team. Because if you have a lot of turnover, that creates a huge challenge. So you had talked about, personal development and different things. Let's start with how did you develop your culture? How did you define what you wanted your culture to look like?
Sure. I mean, it all started with a whiteboard session when I really didn't even know what culture was until I really talked to Sam Taggart. I started looking at some of these larger companies and being like, man, like they have something different. People want to be a part of it. So, I mean, we structured it we wrote it on a whiteboard. We said, hey, what are our core values and what does our mission look like? That's what our culture needs to be structured around. And a lot of it had to do with just having fun, having fun, growth, being experts at what we do, and delivering an amazing customer experience.
So what's fun about working for you?
Fun? If you came to my office, you'd be getting shot with Nerf guns. But I mean, it's having fun in the workplace, like having an environment where, it's okay to, take a break, have a little fun. I mean, there's no vacation. There's no such thing as there's no limit on vacations at my company. It's just like, hey, if you're doing a good job and you feel like you need a vacation, take a vacation.
What are you, a software company? Like, what's going on here?
No,
you got all the snacks in the break room. You got no. That's what at Jobnimus. That's the culture, right? Like, we have that culture of and it's very prevalent in the software industry. Like, it's unlimited PTO and fun in the office. Like you'll see on some TV shows that about the tech industry. There's people, playing ping pong and doing different things. But that is something that I think I think it takes a leap of faith to go down that road with your team, because we've been programmed so much. It's like, hey, go to work, do your job, go home. You know what I mean? Like, your fun is on the weekends. But and I guess now I'm a little older, but the newer generations are really attracted to that type of workplace. Are you getting a lot of younger team members because of that, or is it what's going or is everyone involved? You got everyone's out there shooting Nerf guns around the office.
I mean, we're probably a Gen Z millennial based company, yes, but it's not. We didn't do it on purpose. I think that is part of our culture. We're younger. I mean, it just kind of happened like that. I
Yeah.
didn't say we target it toward that, but it does have that feel. But another thing I wanted to mention is recognition.
Mm,
We definitely take recognition very seriously. If you're doing an amazing job, we want everybody in the company to know. We want people to know, saying, hey, this person's doing amazing. Hey, they got us a Google review. Our Google reviews have skyrocketed since we've had competitions with Google reviews. We constantly are having competitions, and we've created a very competitive work environment with every position,
mm,
you know, and have a ton of fun while doing it.
yeah. What are some of those competitions?
Well, if you look at from installer standpoint, it's like, hey, there's a quality control, point checklist. There's number of panels, detached reset checklist. For our schedulers, it's like number of jobs scheduled. For our sales guys, it's like number of jobs sold. There's Google reviews across the board. We have if you've recruited somebody we have really high bonuses for if you've recruited somebody at our company that stays a certain amount of time. I mean, there's pretty much a bonus I mean, pretty much everything.
There's a bonus for everything. That's awesome. What
Yeah.
is it all monetary bonuses? I know you said like there's also recognition. Do you do anything else in there? Like I know I've seen companies do trophies for this and wrestling belts and different things like that. I don't know.
That's good. That's a good question. We typically will do a lot of it is probably monetary based,
Yeah.
yes, but we also allow our installers to, if it, we say, hey, do you want to go to Florida? You've been doing great. We have a branch in Florida. It's really warm. It's March in Colorado, and we're like, yeah, they'll go, and they'll get their per diem pay, and it's really nice. But we do a lot of barbecuing. We do a lot of team bonding type activities. Is we do probably the other 50%.
Nice. Let's talk about those because I think that's a big part of it for people. I've said it on the podcast a couple times. I think it was a Google study. Now it's slipping my mind today, but it was that 85% of people said that they wouldn't take a job for 10% more money if they had a friend at the company they worked for. So it was like,
Yep.
do you have a friend at the company you work with? And then would you take a job? Those are two separate questions, right? But if you
Yep.
put those two together, 85% of people that said they had a friend at the company said that they weren't going anywhere, even for 10% more money, right? And so I think that's a big thing a lot of great companies that I know in the industry, they all they're very social. They have events, Christmas parties and, barbecues, like you're saying, and things like that, and bringing people together. I think that's a key component. What are some of the fun events that you guys have done in the past or do? And what do you think, what have you seen in the company because of that?
Sure. Well, we always celebrate. We celebrate revenue goals. We celebrate our quality goals. We celebrate just like a good season. We always put a portion of our revenue to celebrations. We think it's very, very important because it does like have that like family bonding experience, like that experience, like you said, like, hey, we have a friend at the company. If you asked everybody at my company, I bet you 98% of people would say, yeah, I have a good friend. We hang out outside of work. We go to the gym together. We play golf together. They would say something along the lines of that. But as far as celebrations go, I mean, we've done, like I said, we do a lot of barbecues. We've gone to the arcade. We've gone mini golfing. We've gone on trips. We've done a significant amount of things. I'm always open to more ideas, but I really want to do something big. We have a lot of workers a lot of employees in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And I'd like to, at the end of the year, if we meet a certain goal, I'd really like to take a week off and take our entire company to the Philippines and meet some of our staff over there because we've never met them.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about that a little bit because that's another component to your business that we talked about having. they're formally called VAs, right? Like I hate that term. I'll just tell you, I hate the term VA. Like VA stands for virtual assistant for people that don't
Yeah.
understand it. It's like, we've built teams overseas also, and I look at them as
Nice.
just as our our overseas team members, right? Like because the way that we've always structured it is they have a specific role, right? Like they have a job title, a job description, no different than if it was in the United States. That's why I think it's a weird, like I don't like the term VA as much, but that's just my thing. Okay, so you've built a team overseas to do certain things in the company. Where did that come from, and what roles do they fill?
Sure. Well, I'll tell you, it didn't come from me. I'm not that intelligent when it comes down to that. It's my business partner, Hung. He's always used virtual assistants, and it's always been hard for me to trust remote workers. And I, gave it a shot, and we just had to really recruit hard and find some that could really think on their own. And probably for every five we hire, we keep one that's really solid, increase their pay, they get a really good living over there and enjoy it. Some of the tasks that we have them do that we just doesn't make sense for me to do is, estimates, data entry, accounting, customer service, after hours customer service, email management, email marketing. Those are like three or four like easy ones we have.
Yeah.
We have some really good ones that you wouldn't even know that they were in the Philippines, doing scheduling. Those are they pretty much there's and then everyone in our company that's like a probably on the management level, they get their own executive assistant, we call them, that helps me with tasks right now. Like I have one helping me grow my Instagram account while we're on this meeting right now. She's helping me with tasks, my schedule, managing my schedule, helping me remember important follow-ups. She's just constantly looking out for me and helping me focus on my strengths.
Yeah.
I mean, you can think about it. It's like, hey, what tasks like are a complete waste of my time, and how could I get rid of them? What could I do?
Yeah.
It's the way to think about it.
So now let's talk a little bit about hiring overseas, and because you said it maybe finding the right person. What lessons have you learned in hiring team members over in the Philippines?
Sure. Some of the most important lessons I have to learn is like, don't worry about perfection. Like try somebody out, see how they do, run them through tests, say, hey, please call me at this time. Hey, ask questions. Like ask me questions. Like a lot of them, they've had that term which gets thrown around, the VA, and sometimes people treat them like they're robots or something, and they're not a person. And it's like, hey, like you are a person. You're just in another country working for our company. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
And you'll get some that will really think on their own. They'll get creative and say, I've come up with solutions to do this better, to do that better. And I encourage them to, find their own solutions and think on their own is a big one. So for every five that you hire for that position, you'll probably find one that's pretty solid that you want to keep.
I used to do that. I did that for video editors is kind of an easy one for me. Like when hiring overseas, I would have, get down to like do some interviews, get down to like 3 candidates, and then I would have them do a project. But I would pay them to do it too. Like, hey, I want you to edit this specific video. Here's what I want out of it. And then I would just, kind of see how they communicated with me, how they, not just what the end product was, but like how the communication was, all the things. Like it's pretty good. We use, we've used onlinejobs.ph as a place that we've hired off of. That's like a job board over in the Philippines.
Yep.
Is that where
we use that as well as Upwork, but then again, we go back to our strategy of we take our best,
Yep.
Employees over there. We say, hey, do you have a friend that wants a job?
Yep.
And we usually get some really good ones.
That's a great thing or a great idea, and it works really well. good people know good people. Let's return to that for a little bit, right? Have you guys almost end up with a family tree in your company, right? Hey, this person referred this person in and referred this person in. What percentage of your team members have been referred in versus you like going out and finding them?
70 to 80%.
Wow. That's a great thing. Do you see an increased retention level from the people that have been recruited in versus that you've gone out and hired? What are have you found greater success with them?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
We've had, the retention rate, like I said, we rarely have to, we rarely have to like look for people because there's so many people wanting to, line up and that want a job here because it's a really cool atmosphere to work in. And that's what our goal was. But the retention rate's extremely high.
Yeah. And then, and so I guess there's two parts of it. You have to get people comfortable enough. It's just like your referrals from your customers, right? Like they have to trust you enough to refer you to someone, right? They have to, before I bring a friend over here to work here, I better make sure I like it, right? And that I'm having a good time. So you're giving them an experience of, hey, this is a great place to work. We're going to help you achieve your career goals. We're going to have some fun along the way. And now they're going, oh yeah, this is the right place. You should come over here and work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And another thing a lot of people won't tell you is you have to treat your internal team like customers as well. Like they are some of your best customers. Like you need to make sure that their customer experience is great. And it keeps giving back tenfold.
Yeah, I agree with that. I always say, and I've said it on the podcast a few times, like we always think of marketing, because I come from the marketing side of things. Like we always think of marketing as trying to get new business. Then the second phase, we look at marketing, we're like, how do we get our past customers to refer us more, right? Like that's marketing, newsletters and things like that. But it's the same thing on the employee side. You have to market to your current team members as to why they should stay with your company. Sell them the dream of what it is to work for you and to continue working here. And that all of that, it leads to the marketing for future employees, right? Because when you're treating your current team well and doing great things and having events and having fun, that's marketing for future employees. Like it all flows together.
We had a solar company in Denver, a fairly large one, call us, and they said we had a couple of their employees come over that they laid off, and then the guy calls and he says, hey, I'm just calling, but I'm not even mad that you guys have a couple of our employees, but everybody from my company for some reason keeps talking about your company and how my company should be, it should put some policies and procedures in place like ours. Yeah. And I'm like, man, that's a good compliment.
That's a great compliment for sure. So,
but I said I'd have to charge you for it.
So what do you think the greatest insight is you could share with our audience on how you guys have found success and grown your business?
Honestly, I can say a lot of it, and I think we talked about this when you did your Job Nimbus presentation. Is education, constantly being open to education, never saying, "Oh, well, we're good. We know what we're doing." We invest heavily, very heavily, into future education, because it's like, hey, if you're in this networking group and then you go to the next one, whoever you're around is going to be, like your top 5 friends. I think you make like the same income. Like, so I was like, hey man, like we want to be up with the big dogs. So we started getting in with Sam Taggart. Then we started getting in with some like major CEOs like Legacy. We're talking with C-level suites of Sunrun. Like we're talking with people who are, doing $1 billion in revenue, and we're almost, up with their owners. And it's due to the education that we've invested in and mentorship. That's a big, big key in success, I'm sure, as you know.
Awesome. Thanks, Hunter, man. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more revenue through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com to get a copy of the book, The Best Known Roofer. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. Thanks for listening.